Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast. My name is Shauna McGrath. I'm the creator of Neo-Feminine Astrology, where we use astrology to invoke your feminine energy. And in a lot of this work, we use your unconscious and your shadow energy to invoke your feminine energy. So we'll go into that a little bit in this video, but if you'd like to know more about my work or to get a reading with me, go to my website, neofeminineastrology.com. So this week is all about loving your limitations. And I know that may not sound very fun, but this is actually a week where you can use your limitations to be more creative and to move forward in the world. So there's two different aspects that I'll share with you in this video, and then I have 3 tips for you to harness this energy so that you can take advantage of it. So the first aspect is that we have the sun squaring Saturn. And so this is our life force, our wanting to be in the world, what it is that we have to give, that's the sun. And that is in tension with Saturn, which is about structure and reality and responsibility. So there's this idea, there's this thing that you want to do, there's this idea, there's this vision, especially because the sun is in Pisces right now, which is all about the ideal and the higher vision of what things could be, the utopian kind of vision. That's in tension with what your practical reality is right now, or that's in conflict or tension with the steps that you need to take in order to make that vision a reality. And so there's different options for this. It can feel a little bit heavy. It can, the shadow, the unconscious of this is to feel like there's all of these limitations and it just feels really hard. It can also look like being hard on yourself. So that's the shadow energy, that's the unconscious energy. If you go into this though, there's a lot of beauty in working with the limitation, because limitation creates the structure that you need in order to move forward. And there's a really beautiful quote that I want to share with you that's by Anodea Judith. This is her book, Wheels of Life. It's actually about the chakras, but she's talking about the root chakra, which is all about earth and matter and limitation. And so she says, while frightening to some people, this limitation is an essential creative principle. If we didn't limit our activities, we would accomplish nothing. To manifest, we must be willing to accept limitation. And so I think this is so beautiful because that is the energy of this week. You have this opportunity to use your limitations to create. And so in a moment, I'll have some tips for you to really drive this home to essentially create rituals for yourself this week. The other aspect, though, that I want to share with you is that on Saturday, on the 18th, we have Mercury and Venus coming together. And so this, to me, is just a really fun day for creating connections. There's like this sense of affection that could be felt when you're around other people, or even just creative work in general. So I just want you to note that day, Saturday the 18th. Do something social, do something creative, especially important because Venus is retrograde right now. So this is the Saturday, this is a day to love, to play, to connect. So I think that'll be a very sweet day. So that being said, I have some tips for you. So tip number 1 is to know your greatest limitation and to know it well. So I say this because when you know the number 1 thing that is a limit to you, you can kind of go into it and like, why is it a limitation? What's it serving? What purpose is it serving for you? And this is because we don't have limitations just because life sucks or life is hard or whatever. There is a reason that this limitation is here for you. And so just muse on that. But I think the biggest thing is just knowing what it is, putting a name to it so that you can point to it, so that you can see it. That's making the unconscious conscious. So tip number 2 is to find ways to use that limitation. So if you have a deadline and you're stressing about something that you need to get done by a certain time, how can you use that to structure your life? How can you use that to create a little bit of active passion and drive to get things done? Or if money is a limitation, or if time is a limitation, you don't have enough time, how can you kind of flip that? Maybe if time is a limitation and you don't have as much free time as you'd like, maybe that becomes flipped so that your free time is so incredibly precious to you, and you use that free time only on the things that you really love, that are very dear to you. Especially while Venus is in retrograde. That's a good thought. So that's tip number 2. Find ways to use that limitation actively, to engage with it. Tip number 3 is to plan something social for this Saturday. Again, this Saturday, it just feels like a really sweet, it feels like an important day for you to connect, for you to be creative. And I see it as exploring that Venus retrograde energy for you. So Saturday, plan something, be open, of course, to possibilities, but decide that that's a day where you will either connect or be creative in some way. So those are your tips for the week. I hope you have an amazing week. Again, if you want to go into this energy a little bit more, or if you'd like some guidance, you can book a reading with me on my website, neofeminineastrology.com. I'm wishing you a wonderful week and sending lots of love. I'll talk to you soon. Namaste.